So here's an entertaining short story that I absolutely could not resist covering, and you're about to see why. Now, ordinarily, I cover stories where you have crazy gals doing crazy things to guys, but guess what? They don't just do that to guys, they do that to other women too. And in this situation, this is a story about a lesbian couple. And the wife here pushes the other one too far, and you're going to see what happens. She pushes her too far, and she gets left behind at a restaurant. The same way that when a woman pushes a guy too far, he leaves the wife behind at the restaurant. And lo and behold, drama unfolds, and now she's this a-hole pain in the butt wife is getting kicked to the curb after cheating is going involved. So it goes to show you guys, this nonsense goes both ways, and it cannot be tolerated, etc., etc. Titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving my wife at a restaurant after she insulted me? In my opinion, no. And a shout out to the dude that sent me this story. I forgot to write your name down. It says here, my wife, a 31-year-old female, we were at a restaurant to celebrate a big milestone in my career. I was talking about my career in voice acting, which I absolutely love, before she decided to insult me by saying, you should be a mime instead, so no one has to hear you talking anymore. That's freaking rude. This is their celebration dinner, she's trashing her. My wife always makes a lot of jokes like this, basically insulting me, which I usually don't pay much attention to. Well, this time not the case. She's an a-hole. This joke, in particular, really hurt me because I used to be very self-conscious about my voice due to being bullied for years about the way that I used to speak. So this hit me really hard. She knows it. She knows this. It was hard a point in my life, and it was very hard to get past all this. And after she said this, I just said, "Are you serious?" before standing up abruptly and walking out the door. Well, good for you. If this woman here has a history of being a total a-hole, disrespectful, eventually enough's enough. Yeah. I'm all for walking away. And because guess what? It can do the same thing in a girl-on-girl relationship as opposed to a guy and a gal. And watch how she reacts. It says here, I didn't tell her where I was going, but I drove to my studio and I've been here for the past few hours. She has been blowing up my phone with calls and messages about how leaving her at the restaurant to pay the bill. It was an expensive restaurant, and I usually pay for our outings as I make more money. And for leaving her stranded as I took the car when I left. Too bad. This is 2025. I'm sure she obviously has a phone. And I'm sure if she does have Uber or Lyft on her phone, she can certainly download it and install it and get them to come pick her up. And about the bill, since you always pay the bills, guess what? I'm sure she has a credit card. She can pay the bill. And if that credit card is racked up, that's a whole other can of worms here. Too bad. That's how you teach them a lesson. Women respond to strength. Even in lesbian relationships, you're typically going to have the more feminine one and the more masculine one. And with the more feminine one, it's just like with dudes, a guy and a gal. Anyhow, it says here, I'm not sure if I'm overreacting, as my wife always says this is just her sense of humor, and I need to stop being a snowflake, but she's blowing my phone, calling me immature for leaving over a joke. Am I the a-hole for leaving her at the restaurant? No, your wife's the a-hole, okay? But it's the same crap as if you get a guy and a gal on the date, the woman's being disrespectful, the guy's had enough, and he leaves her there, as I tell guys always do. They're being a-holes, you walk away, If you're at home and having a discussion, that's fine, but if you're having a discussion or argument, and she's throwing dishes and being unreasonable, insulting you, walk. Never engage the drama. And right there, this always works. But you see, this wife of hers, she's talking about who's in the restaurant, is not used to being stood up to. So, of course, she's being a bully and throwing a tantrum, all that. Well, let's see how this goes on. There's more to this story. Well, with her update, she says, hello, everyone. I didn't expect my original post to get so much attention. Thank you to everyone who upvoted and commented. A special thank you to all. Anyway, to answer a few questions or comments, I got, my wife is unemployed and has been for the past few years. She was working in a very toxic company, ended up leaving due to it taking a toll on her mental health. This wife hasn't worked for years, and she is talking to the lady telling the story here like she's making fun of her and all that, and she pays for everything. No way in hell should this have been allowed. And this is the problem here. The woman telling this story here obviously has been way too easy on her. Not contributing at all financially for years? Not good. If there's a guy telling the story, they'll be saying the same thing. No, you're being too nice. Enabling behavior. I don't care if she's unemployed, as my salary is enough to support both of us comfortably. The restaurant was only a 10-minute drive from our home, and she has the house key, so she was not locked outside. See? The woman in the restaurant is being a drama queen. Me and my wife have known each other since we were teens and have been married for 5 years. We've always got along well, but things have steadily been growing downhill since she's been unemployed. Because obviously she's not doing anything. She's just sitting around being pissed off at the world. And then, you're going to see. I introduced my wife to playing games online after she was unemployed, and since then she's had a lot of free time and I didn't know what to do. I thought we could bond over this, and I ended up buying her a complete setup. Well, what's the problem here? This woman is obviously meant well, bad. She was in a toxic environment, okay, whatever that means. And never going back to work and just sitting around playing online games all day? No, that ain't cool. That's not fair. And that's just enabling the behavior. As time moved forward, my schedule has gotten a lot busier, and she's been spending most of her time online and honestly has seemed quite disconnected from reality. Well, that might do it. She's got to get out of the house, get back on their horse. Okay, she was in a bad place of employment. She needs to some work on herself and try someplace else. Just being cooped up in the house all day playing online games, that ain't good. We've had many arguments about her change in attitude and lack of interest towards me in our relationship. Well, if she's not contributing and she's being a jerk, no need to be in this marriage. Most of the time when we talk, I tell her about something good that has happened to me, and she says something out of pocket, but always ends up playing it off as a joke if I press on it. Despite this, she's also very lovely and sweet sometimes, so I don't think of her as a bad person. She flips back and forth. Sounds like she's maybe bipolar. Is she medicated? I'm guessing not. You can't have her one day being Dr. Jekyll and the other day being Mr. Hyde. In this case, Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde. No, nobody should deal with that. Anyway, for the update. Okay, that was a response to a lot of questions. Now listen to this update. There's more going on here. I ended up messaging her while I was at my studio, and I wanted to take some time to think first, and that I would be coming back home in the morning to talk with her about what happened. I apologized for leaving her and not telling her where I was going, but she didn't reply, which is a little unusual considering she was blowing up my phone. I wouldn't have apologized. I got pretty worried about that and something had happened to her, so I ended up driving back home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what she wanted. And I found her drinking alcohol at home. That's a very mature way to solve the problem. I've had a suspicion for a while that my wife has been drinking secretly, but every time I try to ask her about it, she changes the topic or avoids me. Again, she's got problems and too much time at home with nothing to do. When she saw me, she asked why did I come back home, and then she didn't want to see me. She seemed pretty drunk, so I tried to give her some water and sober her up a bit, but she just knocked it out of my hands and started yelling at me how I embarrassed her, that I'm ruining everything for her, and a lot of other insults. It's funny this woman telling the story here says that, her wife left a job because it was toxic. What, was toxic? This marriage. Unless I'm mistaken, the woman telling the story certainly have made the effort on all fronts here and being treated like garbage here. And now knocking the thing out of her hand and all that, and she's in the house trashed and acting like an a-hole. No. After her outburst, she locked herself away in the bedroom. I ended up looking through her PC, not proud of that. And after I saw a few comments, she could be cheating on me, or that she resents me, and she's been sending multiple nudes to multiple people online. See, doesn't this sound just like a story I'd talk about? It could be a married couple with a man and a woman here. The same thing. The same crap that this could be totally a situation with this crap being done to a guy. But this situation, she's doing it to her lesbian wife. Same thing. I haven't really spoke to her about it since it all happened or brought up what I found. This happened a few days ago. We've only said a few words, and since that night, I have been staying for as long as I can in my studio, every day since it happened. I don't know how to face my wife or even look at her anymore. I've gotten to the point that I can't focus on my work properly anymore. It's over. This has been going on for years, and it's worse and worse. She's just a screwed up person. Now, in the comments, I dug around, and apparently she did say, I think she has bipolar disorder. Okay, now I get the whole sickness and health thing, but it seems like this isn't just the bipolar thing. This person's character, she's just an asshole. And now that she's cheating, amongst many other things, no. Whether it's a girl or a guy telling the story, I say end it. A lot of comments pointed at abuse, and after really evaluating the relationship and how I've been treated these last few years, I can really see it. I was so blinded and kept thinking to myself that things would somehow get better, but I think it's best to take some time now to myself. This is what a lot of people say in this situation. Oh, things will get better, or make excuses for the person that's being an a-hole, or, we've heard it all before. I've spoken to a few lawyers about divorce, but I'm still waiting. Good for you. Get out of this. I'm not sure where my wife will live or how she will support herself since I have been supporting her financially. So I'm trying to work things out. This probably be the only update I do regarding the situation. So thank you again, everyone who commented and supported me. Yep, she's got to go. And hey, how is she going to support herself? Not your problem. And obviously, they have a long history together, and that's understandable, the back and forth and everything. But this is a terrible situation. And if this was a guy telling a story about a hetero relationship, I'd say the same thing. End it. Okay? This chick is too far gone, has crossed the line multiple times. The problem is that the worst part about this whole thing is they get divorced, and this woman telling the story here is no doubt going to get raked over the coals. At least, maybe not as much as a guy telling the story, but still. Alimony, assets, and this mooch at home. But obviously, her heart was in the right place, trying to give the gal space and time because she worked in a toxic place. And she does nothing to contribute, doesn't show she cares. She's obviously angry, trashes this girl telling the story on her success and all that. No, it's time to go. But a lot of people get in these situations. But anyhow, guys, this situation, she's toast, thank God. But the point of the whole thing is, it doesn't make a difference whether it's hetero relationships or lesbian relationships. Gals will act crazy, do crazy things, and it's the same damn thing. I've actually had a number of gals that wrote into me that are lesbians, so they watch my channel because of the crap they deal with too. It's the same freaking thing. But anyhow, I hope it works out for her. But people like that, they gotta go.